So it's Wednesday the 17th of July, and I put up a video there yesterday, and I'm sure there's a drive to get people not to view this video, not to share this video. And there's some issues that came to light, and I wanted to speak about it, to give some kind of insight into this Baha'i crowd, which unfortunately got mixed up in between 2013 and 2014, and that's who's driving this whole kind of campaign, realistically, against me. I'm not too sure now how to kind of really approach this, because by speaking about this, it's going to make me look paranoid. And this is the whole kind of part of the aspect of this, that if you speak about this, it makes you look paranoid. And I'm sure in the future that all these videos will eventually be held against me. Like, I'm under no illusion about that. So the people involved in this case, they've been trying to kind of suppress this information and trying to socially ostracize me and my family for years in an effort to cover up what has been going on. I've been creeping closer to kind of exposing this. As slow as it is, it's still kind of, and as slow as this is, it's still progress. It's just very slow, but it's still progress. There was a recent kind of agenda where my wife was going to be targeted and befriended in an effort to get certain people to befriend my wife and my daughter in an effort to try and create a divide between myself and my wife. And that's the sociology of what's been kind of planned and tried at this stage there now. And I know by talking about this, it makes me sound paranoid. And by me even speaking about this, there'll be certain people who will know that someone spoke out of turn, because loose lips sink ships. And I said it before, not everybody agrees with kind of this whole situation. I can't really say too much more on this kind of subject, but that's what's been done. My wife has been targeted to try and create a divide long-term between myself and herself in an effort to destroy the one thing I have, which is my family, which is my wife and my daughter. That's how nasty this Baha'i crowd is. And this is how kind of serious the effort is to try and remove me from my community. Dr. Anne Carey, she's caught red-handed. I'm going to make a complaint now over the next few weeks. I just have other stuff to deal with. I should have complained years ago about her and her husband. Her husband was recruiting from the classroom in Tramwar. That's a fact. That's documented. That's provable, and it's documented. He made the excuse to say that he was speaking about this religion on his lunch break. So Tramwar ETB failed to deal with it, saying that he wasn't under hours. But realistically, he was being paid, so he was under hours. But that's what was being done. Dr. Anne Carey then was driving this with my ex. My ex is a very dangerous human being. Over the next few weeks, I'll explain the situation regarding her, and you can make up your own minds about this. But all this kind of sex stuff that was spread around, this was originally spread in 2016, and my own solicitor, got caught corrupt in my case. I caught her in a consultation room with my ex. I caught her winking over at my ex and had me back to her. I gave her information which she carried over to the other party. The information was false. I just wanted to see if she was carrying the information over. She then deleted my file. And I had somebody look into this recently, and they looked into it, and they came back, and the LSRA, which is the Law Society Regulatory Association, was looking into this, and they found that she didn't do anything wrong. And this person would be of legal kind of qualification, and they're of the opinion that there's no way in the world that the LSRA could have found in this manner, not with the documentation that's been shown to show this woman's actions. It's not just me alleging this, it shows in her own kind of documentation. Number one, that she's trying to mislead me. Number two, that she destroyed the file before the 5 years, which she also acknowledged that she had to retain the file. So this woman is caught. And I was going to speak about this solicitor pretty soon. This solicitor's family would be kind of moving in the circles of mayors, politicians, gardas. So you can imagine the influence behind this person. And then you add in the whole kind of Halligan dynasty of children's group, where I've been speaking about Henry Halligan, who interfered in my mother's funeral. Now, Bishop Cullinan is even aware of this. Bishop Cullinan is aware of this kind of person's actions. He first deleted private emails that I had sent to a priest who was a family friend. And then my mother passed away a year later, and he kind of interfered with my mother's funeral arrangements, trying to keep my family and the priest from kind of crossing paths in case his actions was going to be exposed. And in those emails that was deleted, I was speaking about Dr. Anne Carey and how she's employed by Waterford Tussle and the corruption from this woman, but also included was a friend request that was sent to my wife by David Cullinan Sinn Féin's David Cullinane, weasel that he is. Now, this person would be a good friend of John Halligan. Do you know what I mean? Great support of the Halligan dynasty throughout the years. And there was cronies belonging to David Cullinane who spread all this sexual stuff in the second time this was done. This was in 2017. And David Cullinane then, fancying these chances, decided to send my wife a friend request. But I uploaded the friend request, and my wife spoke about this online. First he tried to deny it, tried to make my wife look like a liar. Then he said his page was hacked. Now, we were on his page because I clicked into it, myself and my wife. It came directly from his page. He's just lying. And as I spoke about this, then as I spoke about this, then there was lots of pressure applied from members of Sinn Féin. Being honest with you, where are they now with everything that's going on with the country? But as I said, David Cullinane would be good friends with John Halligan. Do you know what I mean? And it's the John Halligan network which was used to get David Cullinane the most votes in Waterford. David Cullinane's goal was always just to be the number one politician in Waterford. He was forever going on about John Halligan receiving the most votes in Waterford. You can Google all this. So he got his 30 pieces of silver by using the same network that John Halligan was able to use to have him get the most votes in Waterford. And the reason he got that was because of his support for the Halligans. Because what had he done up until that point that would have enabled him to gain all the most votes in Waterford? That's an honest question. Do you know what I mean? What has he done since getting the most votes in Waterford? We have Sinn Féin now currently, like after selling the sovereignty of our country. You know what I mean? This is the same person now, David Cullinane, when he got voted in, when he's up there at. There's no self-respecting Republican or nationalist would support what's happening to our country now. But David Cullinane is a career politician. Do you know what I mean? He is only interested in furthering his own career. He doesn't really have any interest in the people of Ireland or the people of Waterford. But I've been speaking about that, and I've been speaking about the whole Halligan situation, how there was allegations going back as far as the 80s. You know what I mean? Multiple allegations, multiple accusations going back from the 80s, the 90s, to 2000s, 2010s, 2020s. The guards are aware of this. The people that the allegations were about were repeatedly brought up around the charity children's group and placed amongst the members and the workers. And it got out of hand, to be honest with you, where even the staff started making allegations and accusations. Now, this is an ongoing thing. This is not private. This is not some kind of secret. They don't want you talking about it because they don't want anyone pulling the string, if I'm being honest with you. It's as simple as that. But it should be pulled, because it should be questioned. How can an organisation have so many allegations, accusations, spanning so many years? That should be questioned. How people on the board repeatedly place these people in around the same kind of demographic people who are making the allegations. Should they not be held accountable? And then you have other people, associates of these people, going around threatening people. God forbid they tell the truth, do you know what I mean, or have a voice in all of this. So obviously I've been speaking about that. So it's a bit of an issue. So all efforts will be done to socially remove me, and that's the sociology of what's being done there now. And this is being constructed by Dr. Anne Carey. And again, Waterford City Council was used in an effort to set this thing up. Now, I can't go into the details of how I know this because I don't want to drop somebody in, being honest with you. But if that doesn't give you some kind of insight into this Baha'i crowd, do you know what I mean, that I was mixed up with, this is a glorified cult being pushed by the HSE. Dr. Anne Carey has pulled every string imaginable to try and protect me ex. This woman has done the most unthinkable stuff, and I can't even get a chance to speak about it. And anything I say, I can back up. And if I'm defaming anyone, take a case against me. It's as simple as that. Take a court case against me. It's not like I can get legal representation. So it should be a win-win situation for you. Waterford Gardaí were aware from the 90s of the whole situation regarding certain people. That first began in the late 80s. It was reported in the 90s. It was reported several times actually in the 90s. It was reported several times in the 2000s and several times in the 2010s. And it's more than one person. And that should be looked into. Why wouldn't you have that looked into? Where's the onus of the importance regarding the children's charity? And why do you think this is not really being looked into? What do you really think that they're not looking into this for? I've been speaking about obviously what I'm speaking about. I'd like to think it's serious. Surely everybody else thinks this is serious. You have You have a drive now to like, don't share any of my content, don't like any of the content, don't come to him for a tattoo. Go back to my last video, I explained why they're telling people not to come to me for the tattoo. Because of the messages and the emails from victims relating to children's group link that they don't want you, that they don't want people hearing about. And those people who place those people time and time again around a certain demographic of people, and then those people repeatedly carry on as normal, they should be held accountable as well. Why wouldn't they be held accountable? If they knowingly place these people in and around a certain situation, known of their previous allegations, should they not be held accountable? And that goes for Waterford Gardaí also. They were aware of allegations regarding certain people, and they stood idly by while these people were placed in and around the charity in an effort to discredit the other victims. And that's the cold hard facts of it. I'm sure I'll eventually have to face some kind of legal action, because what's going to happen is going to come to a pinnacle. The fact that you're trying to kind of interfere with my marriage again and my fatherhood. Do you know what I mean? I don't mind saying I'd be a better father than 90% of fucking people out there. So that's what's been done. That's the craziness of this kind of stuff. You'll probably like understand kind of that what I've been saying, because you'll be able to hear in some kind of aspects. Even if you don't believe it, you can go through the videos, you'll see I've shown paperwork. There's other paperwork I don't want to show, because I have the hope that I will someday get it into a courtroom, and I don't want to show too much of my hand, because for obvious reasons they will just kind of doctor their paperwork to cover their arse. And I knew by even speaking about this that it was going to make me look paranoid and kind of unhinged and all this. But I think it's important that this kind of stuff is dealt with as much transparency as possible. And this is what's been done. People were kind of approached to befriend my wife in an effort to try and kind of create a division between myself and herself, and myself and my daughter. And that's some pretty messed up stuff. And this was arranged by Dr. Anne Carey through members again of Waterford City Council. And as we know, Waterford City Council are up to their neck in corruption, and they're doing everything in that and there now to try and keep a lid on this. They've turned to criminals, they've turned to corrupt Gardaís, they've turned to the freewheelers, they've turned everywhere in an effort to try and socially ostracise me, in an effort to keep a lid on this corruption. And there's one thing that they all have in common, and it's not the whole kind of morality thing as they're pushing. They're all after being exposed for being corrupt. That's what it is. And this began in 2013, and it actually really kicked off in 2014, and this was ever before anything was ever said about me. And what I've been saying about Dr. Anne Carey and her involvement with a previous case regarding my family, that can all be proven or disproven. If it's false, it can be disproven, and she can hold me accountable. But they won't look into it. Why do you think they won't look into this? And I think my ex needs to be kind of outed and exposed, because I think it's an insult to women, as I've said in my last video, up and down the country, that women have to be labelled in a category as this woman. This woman is a disgrace. And if her actions really came to light, her actual actions really came to light, she would be jailed, and her gender wouldn't protect her. She would be jailed for 10 years. I'm still waiting for Waterford Gardaí to take me complaint. As you know, I've been uploading documentation. I'm still waiting. But I'll give you an insight of what's been done. Waterford Gardaí, GSOC, LSRA, Waterford City Council, all of these groups, more or less at the same time, they all started ignoring me there several years ago. I didn't really realise this until I started going back through the documentation, and then I realised there was clearly an agenda after being pushed to simply just try and ignore him and make the case as convoluted as possible. And that's what was done. And this was driven by Dr. Anne Carey out in Tranmore, because at the end of the day, it boils down to Dr. Anne Carey luring myself and my ex into her cult, which she's still doing, I don't mind saying, this Baha'i religion. If you hear of this thing, run a mile. And then it was her that spread all this kind of sex stuff, giving me ex me passwords. How did my passwords get from Tusla to me ex? I voluntarily signed over my passwords to prove that I had nothing to hide. I voluntarily signed over them. I still can't get them back to this day. Now, if I had something to hide, would I voluntarily sign over my passwords? I wouldn't, would I? And my ex wouldn't have been dropping down the kids, would she, in 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019? So it's not really about any kind of welfare situation regarding the kids. So what's it really about? It's about something between 2014 and 2016. That's what it's about. It's about me leaving that Baha'i in 2014. Dr. Anne Carey had input to a previous case regarding a family member. Well, she covered the arse of Tussle, if I'm being honest. It's as simple as that. The allegations were about the daughter of a Tussle employee. Dr. Anne Carey covered it all up. And then she lured myself, my ex, and the kids into this religion. I didn't recognise her at the time because I'd only met her the once at this interview at Narkeen Hospital. But as I said, this can all be proven. This can be looked into and it can be proven. Her husband recruiting from the classroom in Tramore to be, that can be looked into. That can be proven. So I leave it there. I just wanted to highlight kind of what was going on because I think it's important to be as transparent about this. I know it probably makes me look paranoid and all this kind of stuff, but I think it's important to really put this stuff out there. And that's the sociology of what's been done. And that's some crazy, crazy, nasty stuff, is it not? But I'll keep going with this anyway, and I'll keep uploading my videos, whether or not anybody likes them, or views them, or shares them, or whatever. Because I need to do this for myself. And I do have hope that I'll get this into a court one of these days. Or one of these years at this stage. So I'll leave it there, I suppose. And I'll be back. Thanks. Bye. So I'm in Clarenwood there, out in Tramore, out in Waterford. And the reason I'm out here, this is the house where I attended this bar high. And between 2013 and 2014, I won't say the name, the number of the house, but this is the house of the psychology teacher, Pat Carey, and his wife, Dr. Anne Carey, who had an input into a case regarding a member of my family. And this is where it all began. And obviously I won't go to these lengths to come all the way out here and do something like this if it was untrue. But this should be investigated. But they won't investigate. I won't say the number of the house in case they say I'm inciting some kind of trouble or something. But this is it. This is the house out in Clarenwood, out in Tramore, and this is where all of this began, and it should be investigated. And I say to anyone else getting roped into this bar high stuff, be very careful, because it's very deceiving, it's very manipulating, and it's not to be trusted. So I moved away from the house there. I don't want to be said that I'm being threatening or kind of causing any kind of aggravation. But that's the house that I was attending between 2013 and 2014. And that house has belonged to Dr. Anne Carey, who had previous engagements with my family. I shouldn't have been anywhere near my family, let alone luring us into a cult, which is what it was. And obviously then her husband, who was luring kind of students from the class in Tramore to be up to his house. And that was the house, and that was between 2013 and 2014. This was years before anyone started saying anything about me, and this woman should have been investigated. But she won't, because she covered the arse, basically, of Tussle. So Tussle will cover for her. But they won't even let anyone investigate, even if it's just to prove that what I'm saying is wrong, because what I'm saying is right. And I know this is kind of a whole kind of uphill battle. And to be honest with you, if anybody comes across this bar high crowd, like what they portray and what they're really like are two completely different things. And they need to be extremely wary of this crowd. And Dr. Anne Carey needs to be struck off realistically, instead of being employed by like the HSE. Her husband shouldn't be allowed to teach psychology realistically for the gross conflict of interest. So I don't want to be hanging around down the side of the house there for obvious reasons. But that's where it all began. I obviously won't go to them lengths to come up here and like tell a lie, would I? So I keep going with this and we'll see where it takes us.